Welcome back to America's Commercial Real Estate Show. I'm Michael Bull. The segment is brought to you by BOMI.org. That's BOMI. They are the industry standard for education with facilities and property management. Do check them out. Well, today we're talking about press and PR strategies. We have two experts in Studio One with us, Rachel Tobin and Amy Wenk. And I've known you so long, I'm messing up your name now. So
That's all right. At least you called my name.
There you go. So I'd like to ask you, how do we start out if we're going to look at a good example of how a company or a developer or a development that really needs to get the right messaging out? How should we start thinking about that?
It's a great question, and we love for people to actually think about it before they hit go, know. Sometimes we say you have to slow down to speed up. You want to really think about who your target audience is. So say you're a hotel brand, if you know that you're going after the younger traveler, remember the W, they started with they had their own scent, and it was wherever, whenever, they would do anything for you. They just had a definite brand identity. And they knew who their target market was. So if you know those things and you also have a very strong brand culture, then you can start to develop the ways that you're going to push that out. One example locally that I think we've all seen really succeed is with North American Properties in Avalon. They have used pop-up events and art, and just they've had touch points for every development of that project. And we understand that through the way that they've communicated, they've developed such a following that they can get, hundreds of people at events in just a moment's notice if they put it out on social media.
And to put that in perspective to you, if you're around the country not familiar with Avalon, it's a very large mixed-use project, but it's out in suburbia. It's not where it's not in town, it's not downtown type of property, and they've got rents and pricing out there that is matching in town. So that presence and that understanding of that identity of that project has really helped it be successful.
Well, on that point, you really have to look at how they did that. They started doing their social media way before they broke ground. So they really felt like building a presence in the community. So they would ask people, what do you want to see in this project? Do you want this tenant? Do you want this tenant? Do you want this tenant? And people interacted with that. And so when that project opened, they already had a following. They had a loyalty in the community because those people felt like they were part of the project from ground up. Yeah. It was really, really interesting.
Yeah, and I think that brings up another good example that if you you're developing or managing a project that involves retail or mixed use, is to get your tenants involved, right? Look at what they're doing and have some meetings and try to create some synergy and power by your messaging, right?
And a lot of times you're bringing in big brands if you're doing a mixed-use project. So why wouldn't you want the Whole Foods to bring, the power of their social media and their brand to your project? I think those meetings should happen early and often. I think you should try to support each other with your marketing and your PR, and if you don't do it, you're really missing a big opportunity.
Yeah, so just having you on the show, Jackson Spalding Machine is my show's gonna be huge now.
It's gonna be huge.
Huge, I tell you.
Huge.
So what are some other examples of companies or developments that have just really done it right with the press and PR?
I think we were talking earlier, we see the hotel brands do it really well. They've put a lot of thought into every part of their hotel, what goes into the guest rooms, what restaurants do they want. And so I think because of that, they've really identified who their target market is, and they've come out with some strong branding. You see strong commercials, strong social media channels, and a local example in Atlanta is it's IHG, Intercontinental Hotel Group. Yeah, they own a lot of brands that y'all might recognize, and I think we see them doing a pretty good job. Have you noticed their work sometimes?
Definitely. And I'd also say, the developments that really try to become a part of the fabric of the community. So they're not just constantly, okay, look at what I'm doing, look at what I'm doing. They're retweeting influencers in their community. They're talking about other events besides just the ones happening at their projects. They really try to be part of the community. People really resonate with that. It's authentic. It's not forced. It doesn't feel like advertising all the time. So I just think those are just some general tips to try.
Right. I mean, that's great. So you can be a voice of that market area rather than just trying to push your individual project all the time, right? Kind of some of the rules you learn in social media in general, right?
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's important to remember people have curiosity. If they see the fences go up and they see the cranes start moving, so why don't you use that natural curiosity and answer the questions and host events? I think you should almost always do a groundbreaking. You should do a topping out. You should do a ribbon cutting. You should invite people in. I mean, just the more that people feel like you're open and you want to communicate, you're not trying to be secretive, it builds trust, it builds interest. So go ahead and take advantage of all those opportunities to talk to people about it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've had people that know I'm in the commercial real estate industry that will ask me about that. What are they building over there? What's that development over there? Yeah, you're right. So people are curious that are just everyday people that work and live in the market areas.
That's right.
Yeah.
We worked on the Buckhead Atlanta project, and it was started by one developer. Another developer ended up with it because of the recession. And then it sat there for a really, really long time. Cranes just were not moving. And so when the new developer got in there, we would get calls if anything happened. If a banner was moved, if the crane swung a little
From
bit.
the public.
From the public.
Right. Right.
And so we had very much what could we say every month about it, just to keep people kind of, that curiosity is insatiable. And what we find is if there's a lack of messaging from your side, people will fill the vacuum with their own information. It's really great to go out there and tell people, from your perspective, what's going on.
Yeah, well, yeah, and you got to be careful with that. And we're going to have to take a short break, but what I'd like to ask you next is, what are some of the mistakes to avoid? What are some of the things you've seen people do or companies do or developments do that wrong move, guys, that was a mistake. You always want to avoid the mistakes, so stay with us. I'm Michael Bull. This is America's Commercial Real Estate Show.